Hello fiction fans, T.H. Leatherman here. My usual partner in crime for these D&D videos, we've been unable to connect and actually get together at the same time. So I have my other D&D partner here with me, the wonderful Miss Jasmine. So today we're going to go over how to play a Dungeons & Dragons Ranger. Now, I know people give the Ranger a lot of flack, saying that it's not as well-powered and well-rounded as a lot of the other D&D character classes. So with that in mind, when you're trying to create this character, think about what a Ranger is, what role they fill in the party. And that is as a stealthy sniper. So when we're putting this together, we're thinking about Aragorn, we're thinking about Drizzt, we're thinking about Robin Hood, Hawk, Green Arrow. So what we're looking here is really for someone who's kind of stealthy, has these tracking abilities, and is really good with a bow. Rangers are supposed to be very good fighters, but where they really shine is if you build one that is actually specifically to be a sniper. So I'm calling this particular character Tracer. He's going to be a level 7 Ranger, human variant, and I'll tell you why here in just a moment. Chaotic good. So why did I choose the human variant as the type of race that I wanted to go with here? I mean, a lot of people think that a wood elf would probably be better, and certainly getting the higher dexterity there would be a boon. However, with the human variant, you get a feat right off the bat. And that feat, in this case, gets put into sharpshooter because we want our ranger to be an expert with bows. We'll take our initial skill in stealth and add a +1 to both dexterity and constitution. Now, you might choose to put that +1 into wisdom. There are a lot of reasons why you might want to do that, but I prefer to make my characters a bit more survivable, so I wanted to have that extra boost in hit points, so I put that +1 into constitution. So using the pre-generated points to put these stats in on the character sheet, I put the highest stat into dexterity, the second highest stat into constitution, third highest stat into wisdom, because these are going to be the main stats that your ranger is going to use. Going down from there, I decided to go into intelligence, strength, and then charisma. Charisma being the lowest score because your ranger really doesn't use charisma for anything that he does, and it's okay if he's a bit gruff and rough around the edges. This is someone who lives in the wild, and social skills probably aren't high on his list. So it's not like your ranger with his low charisma is going to be asking anyone out. I mean, what's he going to use? A D8? So rangers get their saving throws based off of strength and dexterity. So in this particular case, I put the +3 that he gets for having the high dexterity into the saving throws for his wisdom. His strength only being a 10, he gets no bonuses there. Being level 7, he'll have a +3 proficiency bonus, so we'll go ahead and put that on the character sheet. And rounding out his skills, we'll put in athletics, history, because history is always useful for getting information out of the DM. Insight, perception, because he needs to make sure that he can see what he can see. And we'll also give him, of course, stealth, which was the first thing that we chose. We want him to be extra stealthy. And survival. Now, some of these come from him being a ranger and a human. A lot of these come from choosing the soldier variant. So he is going to have some sort of military background when you put his background together. You put his story together. Now, because he has a pretty low wisdom, he's getting that 10 with the only a +1 for his passive perception. So he's not great in the passive perception, but he's getting more things than a lot of the people that are around him. He'll see things that some of the others don't. And remember, we're making a stealthy ranger, so he's going to be using that leather armor because, you know, it's made of hide. Armor, that'll give him an AC of 14 because he gets to use his dexterity on top of that. He'll get a +3 for our initiative because of his dexterity. He's a speed 30 because, well, he's a human. And taking the hit points, we'll go ahead and give him 60. That'll be the 10 that he gets for first level, +6 for every level, plus 2 for every level that he has. That'll give him hit points of 60. You can roll this if you want, but I went ahead and gave him 6 for every level. And of course, Rangers get die 10 for hits. So, weapons. Now, in the weapons category here, we're going to give him a hand-to-hand weapon of a rapier. Not really a rugged weapon that you would expect a ranger to have, but it's a finesse weapon, and rangers have good dexterity, so having a finesse weapon gets that extra plus to hit. Given that we're making an archery character, we're also going to give him a longbow, because that'll be really good for getting a lot of shots in. And we'll also give him a heavy crossbow. Now, heavy crossbows don't fire as fast as longbows do, but our second feat, when we get to that level, will be crossbow expert, which will take out that loading piece that tends to slow them down. Now you'll see that I put the pluses in there for his proficiency bonus as well as his dexterity bonus for those finesse weapons and ranged weapons. One of the things you see at the bottom here is that I'm also giving him 2 die 6s for bonus damage on his ranged weapons. One of these is Hunter's Mark, which your ranger should always keep up in combat. You should always be taking Hunter's Mark right away when combat starts. Second thing that he's getting is he's getting another die 6 from being a monster slayer, which is from Xanatar's Guide. The 2 archetypes that are in the player's handbook are okay, but they're not great. So Hunter gets you some abilities that are kind of nice for tracking things. Beastmaster gets you the beast, but really the beast just ends up being involved in combat and getting killed real quickly. So not really the best thing for a ranger to get. So the 3 archetypes which are in Xanatar's Guide, which is the Gloomstalker, the Horizon Walker, and the Monster Slayer, these are much more useful. Horizon Walker was kind of neat, and I thought about taking that just so he could pop around the battlefield and be able to get behind his opponents. I decided in this case to go for the damage route with Monster Slayer, and that gives him an extra die 6 to every time that he does damage to a creature. That ability is called Slayer's Prey. So to reiterate, every time that our ranger is doing damage with his bow, he's of course using his sharpshooter skill, so he gets a +10 to damage, plus his dexterity, so that's another +3. Then he gets to add in a die 6 for Hunter's Mark and another die 6 for Slayer's Prey. That is a ton of damage. And once he's doing 2 attacks per round, that is a lot of damage. And you know where rangers keep their arrows? In the monsters. Once he gets up a little higher and can use Swift Quiver from his spell book, then he gets to get 4 attacks per round, and each one of those attacks is doing a substantial amount of damage. Alright, getting into what this particular ranger has for being a monster slayer. First of all, he's going to get a set of spells from having the Slayer magic. So he's going to get Hunter's Sense. Hunter's Sense will give him the ability to immediately understand his particular prey's weaknesses and strengths so that he can better use those against them, and also inform the party about what that creature's weaknesses are. He'll also get supernatural defense, but because we're making a character that's supposed to be sneaking around and shooting from the back, he's not going to get a chance to really use that supernatural defense unless something sneaks up on him, which he shouldn't be allowing to happen anyway. Obviously, we're taking the archery combat style to give him the +2 there. So the 2 ranger abilities of favored prey, as well as having a natural explorer, having a good terrain sense, you'll want to discuss this with the DM. Knowing where the action is taking place, the DM is probably going to give you some hints about which things are going to be more appropriate for the campaign that you're in. Then of course we have the feats, which using the bow until he gets to the level where he gets the ability score increase, we take the feat at that point in time, making him a crossbow expert so that he doesn't have to spend time loading his heavy crossbow. He gets a 1-die-8 for the longbow, and then he gets a 1-die-10 for the crossbow, which then of course gives him the ability to get an extra 2 points of damage. Spells for your ranger. Now he's going to get protection from evil or protection from good, depending on what side of the coin he's on. This particular ranger is chaotic good, so that's going to make him get the protection from evil. This is Slayer magic, which he gets automatically. He doesn't have to expend spell slots for that. He also gets Zone of Truth, which has limited usefulness in the campaign, in my opinion. So what other first level spells is he going to get? My suggestion is that you take Detect Magic just because it has a lot of usefulness. You may decide not to do this if your team has a magician of some sort in it, because a lot of them can detect magic pretty much at will. Another good one is Speak with Animals. I mean, you're a ranger, you're spending a lot of time outdoors. Being able to speak with some of the local wildlife and get a feel for where that group of bugbears is will probably help you out. Second level spells that we're going to take for our level 7 will be Spike Growth, just because it can do a lot of extra damage, and you can cast it at anything that's 150 feet away, so you don't have to be close to your target in order to do extra damage to them. The other thing is Pass Without Trace. Since we're making a stealthy ranger who's going to be sneaking off places and then sniping from a distance, having Pass Without Trace, or then maybe cloaking the whole party in Pass Without Trace so that they can sneak up on things, is a good idea. This is Dungeons & Dragons, so there are magic items around. What things should your ranger be looking out for? First thing is Bracers of Archery. Getting that +2 to hit and damage, definitely worth taking. This also goes double for the +2 bow, if you can find one. And of course, what ranger wouldn't want to have a Quiver of Alona? Endless amounts of ordinary bolts and arrows. All you have to do is reach back and pull another one out. Wow! So some of the equipment that your ranger needs, he may not have the gold for, so he may have to visit the bank so he can speak to a loan arranger. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. I post weekly. If you have a question or topic you want to cover, message me on Facebook. Check out my book, The Burning Sun, on sale on Amazon, 99 cents for a limited time. If you enjoyed this episode, like or comment below. So long, fiction fans!